Well, no, we're not going to do that. Anyway, I know the number of attendees looks relatively small, but that's the way these have been rolling over the course of a little over a year, because what we have realized is while many of our members cannot actually be present at this very moment to participate and be on the Zoom live, what they do is go back and review the recording on our YouTube channel once it's posted. And we have just an impressive number of people who come post link or post Zoom and participate and watch, and they watch it repeatedly. So don't let the small appearance in any way feel like you're not being valued or that your time is not valuable, because I can tell you there will be a couple or so hundred people who watch this at their leisure over the course of the next couple of weeks. So I want to say thank you for being with us this morning. So what I will do, let's go ahead, and then as I said, I'll bring in Dr. Nichols. I do want to thank everybody for being with us today. I think it's wonderful that we have our superintendents in the region participating. I think we all know, particularly you realtors, you know firsthand when you're working with people, location, and you know what comes next. So this is going to be chock full of information because you all are the source of the source. The realtors always provide the information to help their buyers make informed decisions. So this is going to be extremely helpful to them as they navigate this incredibly unique market that is just hugely off the scale in terms of the number of buyers who want to be in the market and who might be on the sideline a little bit. And then obviously the inventory has just been markedly under market, and we are struggling with how to increase our inventory, which should help alleviate some of the incredible prices that we're seeing. So it is very much a seller's market. But that all said, let me bring just some quick intros to our guests. And as I said, when I bring in Dr. Nichols here in a second, I'll be sure to loop him in and introduce him as well. We're going to go in no particular order, except I'll let Dr. Shandor go first when it comes to his general overview. But Dr. Victor Shandor has been in York County, and I cannot believe this, since August of 2014. It seems that just does not seem like it's been a fast nearly 10 years that you've been in YCSD. Our realtor members will be interested to know that you're a graduate of California University in Pennsylvania, and you started, like every teacher does, as a teaching assistant, and you came back home. You came back to the area. You earned your master's from Old Dominion University, go Monarchs, and an educational specialist degree from one of my alma maters, George Washington University, and then your doctoral in educational leadership from Wingate University. You've been in the business, as we say, for nearly 30 years, and you've held positions in Chesapeake, in Norfolk, in Georgia, and in North Carolina, and we're glad in our region that you decided to come back and make York County your home. So I have a fondness for York County schools because that's where Dave Gaston started when he was a teaching assistant at Bruton High School. But then Dave Gaston moved into another school division, WJCC, and we are very honored to have my friend, and I truly believe Dr. David Gaston's mentor, Dr. Olwen Herron. And I'm very fond of Olwen because she has always been so good to my better half. But she has been here in WJCC and again, I can't believe that you've been here, Olwen, now for 4 years, actually 5 years now. But when you hear our friend speak, you will just be able to, I could listen to Olwen speak all day long. I just am so fond of her, and you'll understand when she starts speaking how comforting she is to her students and her staff and her family. Dr. Herron earned her doctoral degree from Regent University, so she's been close to home for a long time as well. But you'll also pick up a wonderful brogue. Let's just keep it at that, because she earned her bachelor's degree from the University of Liverpool in England and her master's from the Queen's University in Northern Ireland. She was the Chief Academic Officer and Chief Accountability Officer in Sugar Land, Texas. She was the Director of Organizational Development in Virginia Beach, and also was a school-based administrator in Tulsa. Plus, she brings to the table significant teaching experience from Northern Ireland. I just am so thrilled that she's able to squeeze us into her busy schedule, and Dr. Shandor as well. So here's what we're going to do. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and punt it over to you, Dr. Shandor, to give a brief overview of York County schools. And then we'll do the same. Olwen, right when Dr. Shandor finishes, we'll let you go. Then I'll introduce Dr. Nichols and let him give his general overview. And hopefully we'll have time for what I think are some very relevant questions given today's universe of public education post-pandemic. So I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to turn my camera off and get back to Dr. Nichols. And Dr. Shandor, I will leave it to you.
Can I add one thing about Dr. Shandor before we start?
Of course.
No.
He's actually our Region 2 Superintendent of the Year and has been a great mentor to me as a superintendent. So over to you, Dr. Shandor.
That is right.
Dr. Herron, you're way too kind.
No, that is a big deal. That is a big deal. And you all don't understand maybe how big a deal that is, but in realtor circles, that's like Realtor of the Year or the Code of Ethics Award. I mean, this is a huge honor, and for someone from our region to have the title this year means that he's doing an awful lot right. So I thank you, Olwen, for pointing that out, because I should have put that in my notes. So congratulations, Dr. Shandor, and we're going to let you get started.
Thank you, Susan. I certainly appreciate those words. Dr. Herron, thank you so much as well. So first, let me say I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about York County today. I'm in my 8th year. As Susan said earlier, time really flies when you're having fun. So I'm in my 8th year as superintendent here. I've certainly enjoyed working with the school board and the board of supervisors for the last 8 years to do all we can for our county and for our students and for our citizens. Just a little bit briefly about me. I have three children of my own who attend our York County schools, and I have a junior, I have an 8th grader, and I have a 5th grader. So I've got one at every level. So quite honestly, I think this is an advantage for me to be a superintendent and experience school, so to speak, through my kids has been a wonderful eye-opening experience for me. So, and actually through my wife, I'll say that as well. So my wife will certainly let me have it or share her thoughts and concerns about the school division. So it's a great opportunity. It's a pleasure to share a little bit about our school division. So let me share my screen. And if someone will let me know when it shows up. Are we good?
We can see it. Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Let me see if there we go. So just a little bit about our school division. We have 19 schools. You can see on the slide, 10 elementary, 4 middle, 4 high. And then we have one charter school, which is York River Academy. And it's a really great opportunity at York River Academy for students who don't fit the traditional high school setting. It's a very small setting. We have 70 to 80 students who attend that school. We start our recruiting process basically in like 7th and 8th grade. So internally, we work really hard to make sure we find a good fit for those students there. We have about 12,331 students. You can see the breakdown from the various levels. What I will share is, we're significantly down, and I think most school divisions across the Commonwealth, enrollment really took a slide over the last couple of years for multiple reasons, whether it was homeschooling options or virtual Virginia or different options for families. So we are expecting our numbers to increase. Our projections next year are 300 to 400 students higher. And you can see something we really pride ourselves in, and this, I can't take credit for this because this was really intact before I got here, but was our class size averages. You can see that our kids really benefit from having a small class size at every level within their experience in the school division. Next, we just call this YCSD Fast Facts. So you can see our breakdown by racial and ethnic groups with 57% white, 13% Black, 11% Hispanic, a little over 6% for Asian. And then you could also see under special services what our numbers look like there. special education being 11.8. Everywhere I've been, sort of the national average for school divisions is typically around 12% for that number. And our economically disadvantaged number has slowly increased over the last 3 or 4 years. Next, our federal connections. So 44% of our students are federally connected. We're really proud that we get to share to serve such a high number of military impacted students. So let me get to this next slide. There's just a couple things I want to share with you. YCSD is really proud to serve the highest concentration of military students in the state of Virginia. 32% of our families are military connected. 11 of our schools have received the Purple Star designation, which is awarded to military friendly schools that have demonstrated their commitment to meeting the needs of military connected students and their families. We have several student support programs in place, such as peer buddy programs when students enter the year, and recognitions as well during the month of the military child. We have very close relationships with our military partners. We have school liaison officers at Langley, Fort Eustis, and the Naval Weapons Station. In addition, we often seek out feedback from our military families to see how we can really best serve our students in the military. And we've had a number of different programs recently celebrating this. I could just share a quick story at Tab High School last week. We had a very high-ranking officer come and talk to all of our military students. So we had 375 students at Tab High School who were military connected, and they attended this event in the gym, and it was wonderful. And I learned something about one of my principals. So Paul Rice is the principal at Tab High School. I've known this guy for 8 years. I didn't realize he was a military child. So when he got up and talked to the students about his experiences growing up, he attended 9 different schools in 9 different locations. So I would like to take credit that I put him there, and that was the reason we put him there. So it was a great fit. But I think for our families and our students who were in attendance, they probably really gained a greater level of respect for Mr. Rice. So he does a great job. All right, so next I want to switch gears a little bit and talk to you about a unique program that we have here in YCSD. It's called Engaged In. It's very much like LinkedIn. So Engaged In, this program, it's a product of, I have a superintendent business advisory council. We launched this in 2019 with the goal of providing local businesses and professionals the opportunity to partner with us and provide opportunities for our students to learn more about careers and the skills necessary. Essentially, we met with our economic development group in the county, and they told us in like 2018, when we met with them, that, you know, their experience, kids aren't ready for the real world. They're not ready, you know, for work, all of these types of things, the soft skills, all those types of things. So we listened to what they had to say, and we thought about this partner opportunity within our county. Now, you know, York County is more of a bedroom community, and you know, as far as economic development, there's not as many large businesses or whatnot in York County at this point, but there's a lot of smaller businesses. Our Engaged In partners, and I'll get to this, and let me see if I can go to the next slide. So we have 255 active participants. So basically it's a database. So all of our teachers and principals have access to this database, and I'll show you the next slide in a minute. We have all 17 career clusters represented, and career clusters are, and that comes to us from the DOE. And I'll share that list with you in a minute. This is accessible through our website. So let me go to my next slide. So this basically takes 5 minutes to complete. The career clusters, if you look to the left side at the bottom where it says, if you were asked to place your role into one career cluster, which one would you choose? There's 17 of those. And then on the top right, you can see basically how you can help us, or how can you, support the work that we're doing, and how can you get involved? And there's 11 different ways that you can get involved. We also even ask, is it better for you in the morning, evening, or afternoon? Which days? When shouldn't we contact you? So when somebody goes in and sees, someone from NASA, an engineer that wants to come, we can see his schedule and when are they're available or not available. This has been hugely successful. We're really proud of this. It's been a great way to engage our parents, and it's been a great way to engage our community. All right, let me go to This is my last slide. Just a snapshot. We're really proud of our achievements. And we back in 2020, there were 15 school divisions in the state recognized as a school division of innovation. We're really proud of that. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit us for basically 2 years. So we've had to sort of switch our innovation to continuity of learning and how we were going to educate our kids. And then recently in niche, we were ranked the #1 school system in Hampton Roads, and then the #3 school system in Virginia. So we're really proud of that work. Our graduation rate has been very high throughout the years. I will tell you, I'm really proud of the work that we do to get kids to walk across that stage. Anyone who's ever been an educator at high school understands that some kids sprint across the stage and they're ready to go to Harvard, and some kids you have to literally pull and push to meet the graduation requirements. We're really proud of that. Our students with our economically disadvantaged students, our special ed students, and our Black students have had significant gains in the last 8 years. We're really proud of those subgroups. This past year, our Black subgroup was 100%. We had 100% graduation there. And then probably out of all of these, the biggest thing I'm most proud of is the 95% SOL participation. And you would say, well, why are you so proud that people, that these kids participated in taking SOLs? Well, there's a number of reasons for that. One, the state average was between 75 and 80, and we were at 95. What that tells me is that shows how connected our teachers are to our families. That shows how connected our kids are to our schools, and that our community trusts the work that we're doing. And so I was really, really proud of that. We are looking forward to, I think Susan said it best, post-pandemic. We're really excited about the work that we're doing in the schools with different activities that we offer, seeing kids participating in athletics and seeing concerts in the schools and plays at the theaters and all those types of things. It's almost like you're sort of re-inspired to do the work coming out of the pandemic. But I will share with you a challenge that Dr. Herron and Dr. Nichols, that all of us are facing in the Commonwealth and probably across the country, is a teacher shortage. That is something that we are all struggling with. We all look at each other's pay scales. We all look at each other's health benefits. We all try to figure out how can we recruit and, more importantly, keep the great teachers that we have in our school divisions. It's going to be a challenge because there's more people leaving the profession that are going into the profession. So, when I used to go recruit 20 years ago, there were lines outside, lines around the building when you would go to a university. Now you walk in and there's, a handful of students who are pursuing education. So we're thankful for the career switcher programs. We're thankful for the partnerships with William and Mary and Old Dominion and Christopher Newport. Like, there's a lot of things that we try and do to, support young people coming into the profession. But that's really all I have. I'll be happy to answer, any questions. I just want to highlight a couple things about our division. And I'll say this because I know I probably have to hop off in about 10 minutes. I couldn't be more proud to work with Olwen Herron. I remember when she replaced Dr. Constantino. We meet a lot as superintendents in the region, and she is a wonderful colleague, a wonderful friend. And I will tell you, the superintendency is a challenging job. And it's particularly challenging during elections when there's an election going on. So to successfully navigate those rough waters, you have to have someone who has a high EQ. So you have to have a high, be emotionally intelligent so that you don't overreact and you can really work with leaders and keep their eye on the ball and focus on education. So really proud to work with her. And just the same with Dr. Nichols up in New Kent. He's doing wonderful work up there. He's going to share hopefully about his new school that he's building and the growth in New Kent. He's doing a wonderful job up there as well. So Susan, I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shandor. As I said, we've got a soft place in our heart for York County School Division because that's really where Dave started. And I know that all of you are dealing with so many different challenges, but I love what you said about the families and the students and the trust and the community and everyone returning to some sense of normalcy, because at least I think when I was in school, probably when a lot of us were in school, when our boys were in school, which wasn't all that long ago, the schools are really the heartbeat of your neighborhood or the heartbeat of your community. And the vibrancy of having bodies back in the building just makes me happy when I drive by Lafayette High School. Go Rams. It's nice to see students there, and it's nice to see activity. And an empty school building, I think, was a very sad visual for all of us over the past couple of years. So I'm glad everyone's back and doing better. And I really do appreciate your data. I think everyone on this Zoom could be data junkies. I know that Susan is, and my wonderful realtor clients know that I'm a data junkie. So I really do appreciate those numbers and those values.
And
We're going to go ahead and move into Dr. Herron, who's going to give her overview. And then before Dr. Nichols gives his, I'll be sure to properly introduce Dr. Ryan Nichols from New Kent County. And then I know, Vic, you have to bounce here pretty soon. But after Dr. Nichols' presentation, we'll do some Q&A, and hopefully you'll be able to stick around for maybe the first question. But if you have to go, you just close down when you need to, and know how much we appreciate your time today.
I will. And Susan, thank you so much. I do want to share, in York County, we can't afford the fancy backgrounds that Williamsburg-James City has, or Dr. Nichols. Behind me, that I am raising the Steeler flag because I'm from Pittsburgh. However, there's confidential information under there that I have to keep covered.
So we will respect all boundaries. No worries. So with that, Dr. Herron, it is all yours, and I think I can see your slide. So I think you have the control button. So fire away.
Thank you very much, Susan. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I'm delighted to be on Zoom today. If I remember, my last visit with your association was actually in person with a board member and a principal as well, and we had such a good conversation together. But looking forward to telling you a little bit about Williamsburg-James City County Schools today. You know, as realtors, you really have your finger on the pulse of our community, and you play such an incredibly vital role as advocates for public schools at this moment in time. And so it really is a privilege to be here. I'm going to start just like Dr. Shandor and give you a quick overview of some, we're not advancing, what's wrong? Susan, for some reason the slides are not advancing.
Are not advancing?
Oh, there we go.
Okay. All right.
This is our mission.
Picture.
Yep. This is our mission: pursuing excellence and championing the success of all students. And that certainly is a challenge in today, and certainly was over the last 2 years. But this is where we focus, and this is what we try to do every single day. Just like York, I want to give you a quick overview on our enrollment. I hope you can see it. Basically, our enrollment did take a big drop during the pandemic. Several hundred students. It came back up again to 11,000, and we anticipate it remaining fairly steady next year again. That impacts funding, it impacts all kinds of things, but we still are holding fairly steady. We got about 300 students back since the drop during the pandemic. And again, as Dr. Shandor said, it was homeschooling. It was parents who really didn't want their students to be in school during the pandemic. This is what we look like as a school division. We're becoming incredibly diverse as a school system. 11,000 students total, 55% white, and really very diverse if you look down through the numbers. And then we also have a pre-K population of 395 on an annual basis. We do have diversity in other respects as well. We have a 35% economically disadvantaged. Our students with disabilities population is one of the highest in the area, and I think that's some of our military families coming to this area because of the services that we offer, and it's currently at 15.6%. We have a growing limited English proficiency number, non-English speaking students, and that actually has gained over 100 students since these numbers on September 30th. Our homeless population has actually gone down a little bit. It was at 2% at one point. It's again a very transient population. And then we've got obviously a strong gifted program as well. So very diverse and growing more so every single day. And that's part of our strength, of course, as a school division. Just a couple of quick things, bits of information. We have been fully accredited for 13 years. Obviously, there wasn't accreditation for 2 years because of the pandemic, but we're very proud of our record, and it'll be a different year this year. We're interested to see how that goes, but we're certainly trying to recover from learning loss over the last couple of years. Our on-time graduation rate is 94.2. And then there's some other information there about what our students are doing. Here's our graduation pictures from last year. You never talk about schools without having pictures of students, because that's exactly why we're here. To give you a sense of some of the accolades we have, just a few things. We could talk about many more. We are within the top 10 schools in Virginia on the same on the NAIF representation this year. We've been a best community for music education for the last 6 years, and we annually for many, many years have had excellence in financial reporting. The Excellence in Workforce Readiness Award was really due to our work with preparing students for the workplace and some of the systems we've put in place. Over the last year, we had a whole pathway in the medical sciences that we created a partnership between Tulsa Community College and Williamsburg-James City County Schools. And to do that, we actually went out into the community. We worked with the Economic Development Board. We surveyed businesses to see where their jobs were lacking in their businesses. We pulled together a health education summit and really had a lot of conversations about the needs of the community. And based on that, we started a health sciences pathway with 3 different positions that medical places needed in their organizations. And we had about 19 students the first year, and I think it was up to 30 something this year. And those students are coming right out into jobs in our community because of that. Of course, we've worked on health sciences first, and we're moving on to manufacturing industry next year as well. So we've got a huge emphasis on preparing students for the workplace as well as preparing them for college. We're guided by our strategic plan started 4 years ago, Elevate Beyond Excellence. We have an operating budget of about 150 million, and 60% of that is actually locally funded. Unlike York, we don't have a huge amount of federal funding because we don't have the same number of military families, although we do have a significant military population. And so we have only 38% coming from the state, and the rest is funded mainly by our local community. So anytime we have an increase in expenditure, it falls on the taxpayers within our community. And our community has been so supportive of public schools because they realize good public schools makes our community stronger. So we've been driven by and guided by our strategic plan over the last 4 years, with an emphasis on academic achievement, educational equity, communication engagement, safety and security, human capital and positive culture, and organizational efficiency and effectiveness. There's lots of strategies and things happening underneath those broad goals that are driving our organization forward on an annual basis. Susan did ask us to talk a little bit about some of our challenges, and Dr. Shandor has already highlighted probably the most significant challenge in next school year and last school year. We were very fortunate. We started our year fully staffed last year in spite of losing many, many teachers due to the pandemic. It's becoming harder every single day. And instead of working together, we're sometimes competing for the brightest and the best teachers. We also, I do see one of our main challenges right now is support for public education in general. Our local community generally supports us, but I think we've been put at the heart of a political storm, and that is impacting us as an organization. School facilities, we're excited to have funding to begin 2 early childhood centers that's in the works right now, and we're about to go into the design process. And so we will have excellent new facilities for pre-K starting in a couple of years' time. And the other main challenge that we have is, while some of the negative conversation happens around us, we need you to help us tell the positive story in our community about our excellent schools. This is why we're here. We have our Teacher of the Year celebration tomorrow night. And it was interesting. I was out in one of the classrooms presenting one of the teachers with sort of the elementary Teacher of the Year, and then we'll choose our Division 1 tomorrow. And one of the children in the classroom said, "Oh, our teacher's Teacher of the Year. That means we're Kids of the Year." Well, I just thought it was brilliant, because I thought, yes, you are, because our teachers are fabulous. And none of the things we would do without our teachers, our administrators, and the people throughout the organization who are totally dedicated to what they do every single year. So I don't take any of the credit for what happens in our school system. It's very much the people who live and work here. And of course, we love our children, as you can see in this picture as well. You know, you may ask, what can I do to be involved? We've lots of volunteer opportunities. I know you're very busy people and probably can't volunteer a lot, but we do have that opportunity if you're interested, and all the information's on our website. But perhaps the thing that I would ask you today and invite you to do today is to speak up for public education and for the excellent schools in York and Williamsburg, in our whole community, in New Kent, everywhere, because we need you right now to speak well about public education. And I would ask you respectfully to do that, because we need you. That's pretty much all for now, and look forward to answering any questions in a moment or two. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Herron. That was also very helpful. I've recognized some of those students' faces. It's not been that long ago that John and Henry our sons were in WJCC schools, and they are very successful young men, and we'd like to give some of that credit to WJCC schools. It didn't occur to me until over the weekend that we probably timed this fairly poorly, because for our Realtor members, just yesterday, the Virginia Association of School Superintendents were wrapping up its annual meeting that was held out in Roanoke this year. Dave just got back even yesterday. So I know that if they were able to go to the annual conference on top of everything else that they're doing, I know that probably to have asked them to be part of this today was just that one more thing after being away from their offices for the past couple of days. So even more thanks to all of you. I'll just make one additional observation, and then I'll pass it over to Dr. Nichols after I introduce him. Being married to a former school superintendent, it always just impressed me what all he had to do, what all Dr. Herron, Dr. Shandor, and Dr. Nichols and the other superintendents have to do. You saw the budget for WJCC schools, $150 million plus. That is a corporation. When you add in all of the employees, all of the facilities, all of the people to whom they answer, all of the accountability on top of, or including, I should say, elected officials at the local and state and federal levels. These are CEOs of corporations for all intents and purposes. And I do think that they are often underappreciated for the leadership that they have to assume and the impact that they have had on all of us as students and on our families. And I really do appreciate them all, and just want them to know how much they are appreciated. So very good information. And I thank you, Dr. Herron, after I know it's been a busy couple of days for everybody. Dr. Nichols has been able to join us. And so I'll introduce Dr. Nichols real quick, and then we'll let him have his overview, and then we'll spend the final portion of our time together today just with some Q&A, and we'll get that moving here in a second. So you heard from, or when I introduced Dr. Shandor and Dr. Herron, they've worked in a number of different places, which is both unusual and not. And then we have Dr. Nichols, who did not have the opportunity, or rather, I should say, maybe was just so happy where he was before that he just could not imagine ever leaving. And
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes for the division from whence he came and to the person that he is. Dr. Nichols spent really the majority, all of his public education career in Newport News Public Schools. And it's 23 years, from teacher to assistant principal and principal, moving into central office as a director, interim acting superintendent, the chief academic officer, just every position that could be held in Newport News Public Schools. Brian Nichols did them all and did them well. And then there was the call to New Kent County. And he has been in New Kent County now, has it been 6 years, Brian, I think? Has it only been 3? Really?
Yeah.
I thought that you came in early. I thought you and Dave came in almost the same time when he was in Charles City County.
It feels like
My
23
mistake.
years, but yeah, just
My mistake. But you've been doing what you've been doing for a long time.
yes.
He is a graduate of Christopher Newport University, and then harked upon the Gale over at William and Mary, where he earned his master's in education. And then he is currently working on his doctoral degree, although I think you've probably defended. I think you are Dr.
done.
Nichols now, so we're going to leave it there.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah. So, and we were just over the School of Ed the other night, in fact. So that is also another place that means an awful lot to Dave Gaston and to me. So we are glad that you're able to join us. Again, I know that it's been a busy week for you all with the VAST conference having just wrapped up. But Dr. Nichols, we want to give you the chance to talk about New Kent. I'll let you know that the Williamsburg Realtors, while we have a relatively small footprint in the county per the charter that we have for our jurisdictions from the National Association of Realtors, we kind of look at New Kent County as, well, if we only have a small section, we're going to act as though we have all of the county. And so we embrace everyone in New Kent and really have a good partnership with Rodney Hathaway and with Matt Smolka in economic development. And we look forward to working more with New Kent County Schools. So I will be quiet and I will give you the opportunity to share your information. And as I said, then we'll move into some Q&A. But Dr. Nichols, welcome. And I'm glad you're able to be here today.
Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be here. Really excited to be part of the conversation. It's probably poetic that I follow both Vic and Olwen because they've been tremendous influences and supports to me as I'm getting into the superintendency and then making it through 3 years. I've never been a superintendent not in a pandemic, so I'm really looking forward to what that is going to be like. But New Kent County Public Schools is a great place to learn. I jumped at the opportunity to come here after 23 years in Newport News, so really appreciate the experiences in Newport News, but loving New Kent. And Newport News, 43 schools, 30,000 kids. New Kent is a little different. So it's a rural community. We are a bedroom community. In 20 minutes, I could be downtown Richmond at a concert. In 20 minutes, I could be on Duke of Gloucester Street. So it really is a great place to learn because it's a great place to live. And I'll walk you through a couple of things that we have going on. We're actually the fastest growing county in the Commonwealth of Virginia per capita. We had been second fastest to Loudoun, but we just passed them this year. So the real estate business is booming. So far this year, we've had over 114 new houses built in the first 4 months. So in a place like New Kent, that's a big deal. We are small but mighty. So we have 3,300 students, which one of the draws to be in New Kent is you know those students, you know those families, and you're able to make some pretty good connections. We have 4.5 schools. I did not put that on the slide because it would take explanation. We have 2 elementary schools. We have 1 middle school and 1 high school. We also participate in 4 regional programs. So even though we have 1 high school, you have the opportunity to participate in 4 different programs Chesapeake Bay Governor School, Maggie Walker Governor School, Code RVA, and then Bridging Communities Technical Center. So you name it, you have that opportunity in New Kent. I say 4.5 schools because we are growing very fast. Quinton Elementary School is a little over halfway done. It is our first school build in quite some time. And I believe they started this project in 2008. We all know what happened in 2008 as far as the economy goes. We were able actually to fund this project and get it started within the pandemic. So very excited about that. It's a state-of-the-art K-5 elementary school. It can house up to 800 students. We really don't want to go that big, but about 650 kids will be there in the fall. So really excited about that. The picture you see is from a couple weeks ago. So we do have some work to do. It's an exciting project. It's been one of the best projects we have going even during the pandemic. We're very fortunate. Building a school in a pandemic is quite challenging. You know, the price of everything has tripled, and getting it in time just never happens. So we're waiting on some windows and waiting some other things, but we're really making some great progress on the school. So big for our community to be able to pull this off. This school is located in the Quinton part of the school, part of the county. So that's why we came up with the very innovative name of Quinton. It is on the Henrico side of New Kent. So furthest west, that's where the most growth in the county has come. So that project is open September 2022. We're already fully staffed for that project. Staffing does continue to be an issue in New Kent, and it is a challenge. But for some reason, when you open a brand new state-of-the-art school, some of those challenges go away. Most of that is coming internally, but really, really excited about that project. Our focus in New Kent, we have been accredited for quite some time. We continue to be accredited That's really our baseline. So our on-time graduation right now is about 95%. So we're getting kids to cross the stage. Our focus has been on, we need kids to have more than a diploma crossing the stage. Because what happens in New Kent specifically, kids cross the stage, but they don't cross into something, whether it's a career or a college. And so we have kids with this space there, and we want to kind of close that gap. So we've worked really hard with our partners at Rappahannock Community College to come up with a Diploma Plus program. So we want every kid to walk across that stage into a career, into college, into the military, really want them to have a great career. I'm very fortunate as a first generation college graduate to have a job that I love to get up and do every day. I just want that for every kid at New Kent. My own son is a high school senior, and he's working through his plus part of the diploma. He's in our pharmacy tech program, and will finish with that certification and can go right into the pharmacy world while he goes to school at the same time. So that's really the big focus at the high school, is expanding career opportunities and expanding college opportunities. So students do earn career certifications that can take them right into the work field, into a career. In addition to that, college course credit up to an associate's degree without ever having to leave New Kent High School. So that's the exciting part about us. We have one high school, but we have so many options and opportunities for the 1,100 kids that attend that school. Our biggest challenges right now, Olwen and Vic really touched on most of them, but growth is probably one of our biggest challenges. Managing the pandemic and doing those components, our biggest issue was spacing. So when they first came out with 6 feet apart, we couldn't manage that. We don't have 6 feet in any school or any classroom. And then when it came to 3, we really still couldn't even manage that either. We did it, we were successful, we were very safe, but space continues to be at a premium. So we are finishing this elementary school. Right on the heels of that, we're going to do a redesign of another elementary school. And then in the 3 to 5 year plan is the construction of a second middle school. We have a great relationship with the county. I'm very fortunate to be a partner with them in everything they do. So we're really working on a long-term strategic plan. I will tell you that Colonial Downs / Rosie's is a big support to New Kent County as far as revenue. Really, it's a veteran community and we don't have a lot of industry. We are trying to shift that. We just announced a big partnership with AutoZone, but Rosie's Colonial Downs does generate a lot of income. So if you are in the New Kent area, I invite you to stop by Rosie's and test your fortunes, because all that money comes right back to the county and to the schools. But really incredibly excited to be here. Staffing does remain a challenge. We're doing a lot of innovative programs. We've been to a number of college job fairs this year, and I think we've gotten one person from there. But where we've been successful is launching a career switcher program and launching some residency programs. So we partner with University of Richmond this year, Old Dominion University, and then the College of William and Mary as well. So very excited with that. As an alum of Christopher Newport for my bachelor's, I was very disappointed. We actually got an email from them a couple weeks before their job fair saying every candidate had already signed a contract with the neighboring school division. So I want to thank Olwen and Vic for getting ahead of me on that and signing those students before I could even get on campus. But so that's really New Kent and where we are and what we're up to. We're also home to the 4-time state wrestling champions. So we wrestle well and we do a lot of great work here. So thank you for having me and look forward to the questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nichols. I love that you all have the relationship with Colonial Downs, because as a horse owner and a Kentucky girl, because we know what this weekend is, right? It's the Derby.
The Derby.
The Derby. So yeah, I cannot wait for the racetrack to open up, because you'll find me there quite often and as close to the barn as I can get. I know that Dr. Shandor has to hop here real quick, like in less than 5 minutes. So I'm hopefully going to ask him just a quick question, and I think I know the answer. So, and Dr. Herron and Dr. Nichols, you can follow up when Vic has to bounce off. But so here we are still, it is May 4th. We have no state budget. It's not the first time this has happened, that they go in for the long haul, but you all are in the process of budgeting. How do you budget your local division's budget when you don't really have the details from our beloved state to know how much revenue will be coming your way from Richmond?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It is something that we have experience with, obviously, for the last few years. You know, things may have gone a little quicker, but again, I've been here for 8 years, so I've seen a couple little transitions here and there, and it's sometimes there's a delay for a variety of reasons. You know, our big responsibility here as superintendents is to really advocate and build partnerships with our localities. And if we're successful with doing that, we can move that process along a lot faster. Our Board of Supervisors in York County just approved our budget last night. So we're really pleased with that. And we're actually receiving the largest amount of funds in York County that I've ever received here in 8 years. So I'm really proud of that work, really proud of that relationship that we have. We had the county staff members participating on our strategic plan steering committee. I have a very close relationship with Mr. Morgan. In fact, Mr. Morgan is going to meet me over at Coventry Elementary. We have the state superintendent coming in today, so we have a little event over there. But those relationships matter, and that ongoing communication and transparency with them about what's really going on and what we need is just so important. And when you build those relationships and you become a partner with your locality, the whole community benefits. The whole community benefits because we're the economic driver in our county. So, and as far as the state goes, it's really just a waiting game. I work very closely with my financial officer. We come up with a couple of different scenarios based on the 2 or 3, scenarios essentially that they're sending us. So, hope for the best. We're all competing for people. We all want to keep people, and as long as we can continue moving forward, our job is to make sure that we're focused on students and not politics. So we need to focus all of our efforts on kids. Make sure that we're providing the resources in the schools and that our teachers need to help everyone be successful. So it's not as big of a challenge. It is when it gets into our finance department will be struggling in, July. And then also there's the bigger probably impact is sending out teacher contracts. So that's an issue. So Olwen or Brian, did you guys want to add to that?
Brian, do you want to jump in first?
Oh, yeah, I mean, like Vic said, it is something that we are used to, unfortunately, sometimes on the state level, but great relationship with our county as well. We work through that budget process. The budget process never ends. As soon as we finish this, we start on the next one. So great commitment from our Board of Supervisors and from our county administrator, Mr. Hathaway. Just extremely blessed to have his partnership, that we're able to come to the table and work together on a budget and do something that's mutually supportive of each other. So we have a number of initiatives that are really county driven but support schools, and we have some school division initiatives that are really going to support the county. So just that partnership piece. We have planned on the state level for what that lowest number could be, and then we have options for additional funding as it comes through. And then just intersecting that with all of these grant funds that we've received as well, and being very smart about not putting our grant money into recurring costs, and really looking at one-time things that really will benefit New Kent for years to come, that we won't have to offset in a future budget. So learned that the hard way back in 2008, 2009. But so that's really where we are. We'd love to have it now because it does jam up our contracts to a degree, but working through it.
Olwen, before you hop in and related to the budget, I know that Williamsburg is reducing its real estate tax rate, and they had increased it a few years ago, and now they're kind of level setting that back to what it was. James City is considering lowering its tax rate. A number of communities across the peninsula and throughout Hampton Roads are lowering their real estate tax rate, largely because everyone is somewhat flush with cash as a result of the pandemic and federal stimulus funds that came into localities. Does that impact you all greatly when there's a maybe 3, 4, 5 cent delta, either to the good or either an increase or a decrease? How does that impact your budget when you're in the development stage as you are now?
Well, basically, just to go back to the first question for Susan, I think it greatly affects us when we don't have a state budget. Our localities are wonderful. They're funding everything we asked for this year, both city and county, and I believe they're hoping those budgets will be through the process and hopefully approved this week. So the unknown factor for us is the 38% of our budget that comes from the state. So when we all budget, we budget on the governor's proposed budget, the first budget by the previous governor, because that's the facts we have. And that's the only facts we have. We have a Senate budget that potentially would give schools more money. We've got a House budget that may give schools less. We can factor in that, but I think we're left sitting right now not really knowing what that funding looks like. And so we're at the moment, there's 5% salary increase is what we budget on per Governor Northam's budget. If we get less money and we issue contracts of that 5%, then we're left in a position we'd have to reissue contracts and probably lose the trust of our staff and faculty because we've said one thing and have to do something else. So we're really caught in a very challenging situation, funded by our localities, partnerships there, the knowledge is there, the facts are there, we know generally what we're going to get, but we have this gap of knowledge that is not final and secure and there until the state budget's approved. And Susan, you're the expert in that, but yes, it does impact how we do business. We are looking at our contracts and seeing what our plan B would be should all of the money not come from the state that we have built our whole budget on. And working, trying to figure out when we can issue those contracts based on our current situation. So it's quite challenging. With regard to the tax decreases, it's very difficult for me to assess how that will impact us as a school division. If the localities continue to fund us at the same level and with an increase based on our needs as a school division, then it won't impact us at all. If less tax comes in and then the localities feel they can't budget the same amount for schools, then it would really impact negatively our budget in subsequent years. So we don't know what their priorities are, if those will change if there's less income over the course of the next several years. But as Susan says, there's a lot of money right now in city budgets because of the pandemic-related funds, and so it's a good time to give a tax decrease for citizens. But I sincerely hope it doesn't impact us as a school system in future years.
I have a suspicion that it won't have an impact negatively because the assessments, the property assessments have increased steadily. Again, given the just pure economics of the housing market, the inventory is lower, sales prices are up, values are up, assessments are up. So when those are higher and the tax rate is reduced, you still are somewhat, I think, at a level set, and you might even still realize an additional increase in the local budget just because the market is so uniquely steered toward sellers, and the sales prices are so strong right now, which obviously would impact, on the flip side, those higher prices impacts some of our workforce housing and our first-time home buyer markets, many of whom in fact are teachers. So there's really, I think for everybody, there's that pull me, pull you. You want your value to go up. You want your tax burden to reduce. You want your schools to remain strong. You want your teachers to be able to live and work in the same community. I mean, there are a lot of different pieces of this big pie that we're all in, from budget to housing to public education. And it's like Django. You move one piece, the whole game's going to be impacted. And I do think that is exactly why the budget at the state level is taking longer to finalize. They do know, and they're very sensitive to, they being the budget conferees, particularly Senator Howell from Fairfax, who chairs the Senate Finance Subcommittee, and her counterpart from Hampton Roads, Chairman Barry Knight from Virginia Beach, who chairs the House Appropriations Committee. They're looking very carefully at what would some of the bigger pieces that have been amended by the governor to the budget bills on the local grocery tax, on increasing the standard deductions, on a gas tax holiday. How does that impact the localities, and how does that impact local school budgets? That is one of the driving forces for the delay. And Chairman Knight is very keen to say it might be the governor's amendments, but he doesn't get the votes. We will be the ones to determine the outcome of this budget. And he and Senator Howell are speaking real often. I'm hoping now that the General Assembly's reconvened session from last week has wrapped up, that they will do things in all due haste just to really finalize the budget. I think it will probably be maybe end of May. I don't think it will be as it was a few years ago under the McAuliffe administration, when a budget was finalized June 23rd, because remember, the fiscal year wraps up June 30th. I don't think any of us wants that. My clients don't want that. So I think your answers were spot on. I mean, so much is unknown. But I know we're kind of coming toward the end. I don't want to close things out because there are probably a couple of other discussion points. I'll just drop these in for consideration. We do a lot of work with our localities. We work with our county administrators. We work very closely with our county planning offices, because that impacts zoning and housing, and that impacts your school population. Both in Williamsburg-James City County and just recently completed in New Kent, we have been engaged in research and developing economic data around future housing needs. And it's so fresh and off the table with New Kent County, Dr. Nichols, that we've not even presented it yet to Rodney Hathaway and to Matt Smolka. We're going to find a date to do that here shortly. But I think that kind of information is helpful to you all, because it demonstrates not only maybe the deltas in the housing market and what housing needs might be necessary in all of the communities that you serve, but it might be a good indicator for you all too as to what your school population may be when those homes eventually and hopefully will come online. So there's very much that intersection that we try to parlay into our local governments that also impact all of you. We very much have that top of mind when we engage in those research efforts with Dr. Sarah Stafford at William and Mary and Dr. Tom Hall at Christopher Newport University. So if it would be helpful, I can send you those reports because it might be, it might help you glean what your expectations are over the course of the next 5 to 10 years in terms of student population.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for the update on the budget as well. It's good to hear it right from someone who's in the middle of the action. Thank you.
That'd be
I was
incredibly
texting
helpful.
Barry Knight yesterday. They're not ignoring this, even though the press wants to paint the picture that they are. They're not ignoring it. So sorry, Dr. Nichols, you were saying something.
I said that'd be incredibly helpful. We spend the most time right now just trying to predict enrollment.
Yeah,
and staffing
absolutely.
right now, just because we're growing so fast.
I'm thinking, because we've not presented yet to the county administrator and the economic development director, I think it might be helpful when we do schedule that we include you in that presentation and that initial download with Rodney and Matt. So we'll send you that invitation. And Olwen, I'll send you what we've done for both James City and the city of Williamsburg. I think we've done an original baseline back in 2017, and both of those studies have been updated post-pandemic within the past year, just to give a more clear shot of what we're looking at, of what you all are looking at. So, but yeah, I don't know if any of our members might have a question. I have a whole litany. I mean, this is what I live with, so I could ask a whole lot of questions. But I think if there are any of our attendees who have maybe a question, we can go for a few more minutes, and I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. And if not, we can wrap up. I'll leave it up to the discretion of our participants today. Now, I don't see any. I will say, I know that enrollment has been impacted. That was one of the questions I was going to pose, and all of you answered that, and it has been impacted. You also spoke to the impact on our schools of the Great Resignation and how that is impacting your ability to hire, retain. David and I heard that the other night at a dinner at the School of Education, that every school of education is facing sort of those same issues, because it's just more and more difficult to attract people to come into the education profession. So shouting out the importance of that and speaking up, as you indicated, Olwen, I think really is a role that we can play, because these individuals are out in the community every single day. And their job is not to say, live here, don't live here. In fact, they cannot say things like that. But what they can do is say, let me provide information to you from WJCC, from New Kent, from York County, and buyer, you make the decision as to which of our incredible school divisions you want to reside, because we do have the blessing of very strong schools throughout the region. And that's only because of the leadership and the staff and the people. So I thank you for all that you do. I am greatly appreciative of the role you play in all of our lives every day. Even if you might feel that people don't appreciate or understand, I can tell you that the real estate community understands the importance and the value that you bring to the overall climate within a community. So I think I speak for all the realtors here and those who will be watching, how much we value you and appreciate you and your teachers and your faculty and your staff and your students and families. And we can play any role to help you, be a resource, be an asset, be a cheerleader, come tour your new schools. We are all about it. So let us know when we can come visit that new elementary school. And Olwen, I don't know if we ever got in to see James Blair. I think we had talked about it, and then I think the pandemic hit, and I don't think we ever engaged in our tour of that incredible facility. So we're always up for a good field trip.
We can certainly do that. And then when we get our new early childhood pre-K centers, that's going to be a great viewing opportunity too. So just let me know and I can set that up.
That's on my to-do list. We would love to do that. And I think with Dr. Nichols, we should come look at Quinton Elementary when it opens and then go out to the racetrack for the afternoon.
Sounds like a plan. It's a little muddy out there right now, but we'll be ready. Let's do
I
it.
bet the racetrack's not so great right now either after the
That's
rain,
true
but
as
that's
well.
okay. We'll manage. So, but yeah, thank you all so much. We really appreciate your time, and I hope this has been valuable to you, to everyone participating. And I really do look forward to seeing everyone in person at your various schools. So congrats for all your accomplishments, your achievements, your graduation rates, your college output, your tech and career highlights. We know how important that is, and we just really appreciate all of you. So thanks for all that you do. We'll sign off, and everyone knows how to get me if you have questions.
Thanks, everyone.
Great
Appreciate
afternoon.
the time. Thank you. Thanks,
Bye.
Susan.
See you guys.